Hi, everyone. Oh, looks like I need to say it's okay, right? I have to say okay there? Or do I not? I have to say okay there. What's that mouse?
Is that an X?
Okay, that's right.
Oops.
So you see, we're speeding. Did not stop at least notified.
I grab my glasses.
In downtown, and they tell me I see some. Soon.
Did you try my screen, David had?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
I like.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, can you start now? Oh, but I want to see the screen.
This is your sound.
This is my sound?
That's your microphone. Yeah.
How will I see my screen? That screen,
Oh, you want to see your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
not me.
Where are you?
Thank you, everyone on Zoom while you patiently wait for us.
How did I do that?
No problem.
And don't know, you pinned me for somehow. There, so we want to go.
Now I'm just messing it up.
Do stop share. Well, let me see.
Go ahead.
So where you went, okay, this is where we were, I think. Or we were either there, wherever Linda had bounced. Let's say share. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here today. We're going to talk about my favorite topic, fall prevention. Fall prevention awareness. And I'm going to share some tips on preserving your independence, some, even inexpensive things you can buy, as well as just everyday tips on preventing falls. So my name is Dot Boyd, Senior Safety Specialist. I'm here local, and I've been immersed in the world of safety for older folks. That's like, anybody, frankly, who's adult and on, for the last 7.5 years. And I lived the journey with my mom, but I didn't know a darn thing about falls at that point. And since then, I've learned a lot that I really love sharing. So let me figure out the mechanics here. There we go, slide 2. Okay, so we're going to cover fall statistics and what they mean to you, what puts you at risk of falling, what you can do to reduce your fall risks, some practical safety tips and tools, the importance of having an emergency plan, something we don't think about often, and some resource lists for information, classes, and safety equipment. And I'll email that resource list because I realize as the handouts go, I forgot to bring that one. I apologize. And for those of you on Zoom, you'll have to get it via email anyway. So I may not cover everything, but we're going to cover a lot. Oops, sorry about that. I'm getting used to which keypad and which mouse to use. So the reason we talk about fall prevention, and it is truly my daily conversation really, is that falls are epidemic, and they're really tabulated once we hit 65. And I think it's because it's part of the Medicare statistics. So depending on what numbers you're looking at, 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 of us, 65 and older, will fall every year. Now, if we've had a fall, our likelihood of falling goes way up. These were some shocking statistics for me. These are pre-pandemic. I'm sure their numbers are higher now. But just to give you an idea, 5 years ago, when I looked at these statistics, and nothing's been updated, every 11 seconds, a senior is treated in the emergency department for fall-related injuries. Falls are the number one trauma-related injuries that seniors suffer. And sadly, every 19 minutes, a senior dies from those falls, from the fall-related injuries. It could be a traumatic brain injury. It could be a horrible, bone break and laying on the floor for hours and not getting help right away. There's so many reasons. Yes. You can't hear me too well?
I don't think so.
Got a green light.
They want to talk and I don't want. It could just be me, nothing.
No, it's not just you. The mic's not working.
Oh, there we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, there was some magic touch we had to do that we didn't know about. So just to reiterate, we're talking about, and you can see on the slide, so every 11 seconds, a senior is treated in the hospital for fall-related injuries. And that's not including all the people who didn't go to the hospital who probably should have gone, right? We're all pretty darn stubborn that way. And then every 19 minutes, a senior dying from fall-related injuries is really critical. That's why this topic is so important. That's why it's so important that you're part of the program here and that you're in the Matter of Balance classes. That all those things are very helpful. So 80% of our falls occur at home. And of those, most occur in the bathroom. And it's not just the shower, it's the toilet area, it's everything, right? But think about the time we spend in the house. That's where we can be the most vulnerable. And sadly, the average length of time someone lays on the floor, it could be the garage, the kitchen, the shower, you name it. The average length of time is 18 hours. So if you live alone and don't have a way to get emergency help in a fall, that puts you at a higher risk of not bouncing back and being able to resume your independent life. And being isolated also increases your fall risk. So that's the issue right there. So you'll see there's a fall risk survey, and we're going to go over that quickly now. So these are the things that really put you at high risk of falling. Do you have one or more chronic illnesses? Do you take 3 or more medications per day? Do any of your medications cause dizziness or drowsiness? Do you even know if they do anymore because you've been taking them so long? That's just the new norm, right? Do you have impaired vision or hearing? Most of us do as we get older. Are you using a walking aid, such as a cane, a walker, or a wheelchair? Now, using those can help reduce your risk of falling if you're using them correctly, but also using them can put you at risk of falling depending on the surroundings. So have you fallen in the past 3 years? Remember I said, if you've fallen once, the likelihood of a fall is increased in that case. Do you limit your life out of fear of falling? So if you've been in the Matter of Balance class, that's a big subject matter in that class. It's really about discussing your fear of falling, because many people, once they've fallen, once they've had a near miss fall or are concerned about falling, then they start to restructure their life around fear of falling. And that can change everything, because that could mean you become more isolated, which increases your risk of falling. So isolation is just bad all the way around. But since you're here, I know you're not living an isolated life. All right. Is your home environment set up with safety in mind? Yeah, right. I know we're seeing a couple of them. No, well, that's just it. So it's time to take a look at that. And that we're going to spend a lot of time on home safety. Do you spend 3 or more hours home alone each day? Again, that's that isolation factor. And are you worried about your safety in general? Because again, you might be limiting your life. So that's a handout, and we'll make sure that everyone on Zoom has access to that as well. All right, so what can you do about it? Charlie Brown, what can I do, right? So you want to find that good balance and exercise program, which is what you're doing here. So you are already, A++ for being here and taking part in the programs. So and make sure though, when you're doing your exercises at home, that you're very careful. And I urge you to have a buddy system. If you're doing exercises at home, you could fall, right? And if you're by yourself, that might mean you have no way of getting help. So I would say, call or text your friend. Hey, I'm going to do my exercises for the next hour. And I'll call or text you when I'm done. If you don't hear from me, call or text me. And if I don't respond, come check on me, right? Something like that, because if you live alone, having a buddy system in general is very helpful, because you can do everything right to prevent falls and you might still have a fall. You weren't counting on the neighbor's dog knocking you over at your mailbox, right? It could happen. You weren't counting on that curb to be a little bit higher than you thought it was, because our vision's not the same, and down you go. So you can still do everything right and falls can happen. So make sure that you're having your vision and your hearing tested on a regular basis. Insist on it with your doctor. If they tell you, oh, well, that Medicare only pays for that every 5 years or 2 years. Well, if you're really worried and you can tell there's a change in your vision, insist on it. You might have cataracts, right? Those are very common and can really impact your vision. Make sure that your hearing's tested. All of these senses help keep us upright. It helps us know where we are in the world. And gravity's working, for and against us, depending. Make sure you're checking the side effects of your medications. You may have multiple medications and they're interacting with each other in a funny way. So I would suggest you meet with your pharmacist, because if you may not get much time with your doctor, and the pharmacist, if you're getting all of your meds from one place, will then be able to look at everything and talk to you about dizziness and drowsiness and any other side effects you want to know about. Then you can have a conversation with your doctor. All right. And then if you are using any kind of walking aids, make sure you're getting them fitted to you, to your height, to your size, from a good practitioner. That might be a good medical supply store, could be in your doctor's office, but hand-me-down walkers and things, the good news is they're free. The bad news is that might not fit you. You might have a walker from a tall person and you're a shorter person, and now you're out of balance. So all of those things matter. Make sure your shoes are snug and really fitting you well. No flip-flops, everybody. Okay, so you want to move a little bit more deliberately as you age. We're not 25 anymore, right? I don't know if there's anyone in this room 25, but I know I'm not 25 anymore. So you want to really be deliberate in your movements and be aware of your surroundings. So these are just some of the things you can do, and we're going to go over some more. Just remember that, the more you know, the better off you are. And I'll admit, none of my stuff is like rocket science. Not like you haven't already thought of some of these things, but it's a great reminder. Hey, I do need to do that. It's been on my mind, right? To get safety equipment in my house. So again, here's what is really important. Stay active physically and socially. Both impact your fall risks. You want to have that buddy system. You want to maintain your upper and lower body muscle and do some resistance training. You got everything set up here for that. Do your balance exercises daily. And if you live any kind of a senior community, take advantage of their programs and just start wherever you are, because it's never too late to start. So, all right, be honest. Who's got clutter in their house? We got a few honest people here, right? Me too. Okay, and Zoom, I bet there's a few people nodding their heads too. So when you go home today, the whole idea was when you go back home today, you look at your house with new, fresh eyes, right? You might have been looking at safety. If you've got grandkids and they're coming for a visit, you've probably figured out some things for them. Well, now it's time to put yourself first and figure out some things for you for safety. So you want to ask yourself, can I walk in and about my home without tripping over anything, or without having to grab something to kind of steady myself as I zoom around, to get to another part of the house? You've got to really clear your walkways. You want to make it as safe as possible. If you've got rugs, I'm telling you, I know you love them, they don't love you. One of the reasons rugs are a factor is because as we age, many of us are doing the old person shuffle. We are not picking up our feet the way we used to. I don't know about you, but my feet feel 10 pounds heavier than they did 5 years ago. And I notice I'm shuffling sometimes. And if you're shuffling and you're not doing heel toe, the tiniest rug could get you. the threshold between moving from, let's say, a hard surface floor to a carpeted floor, that tiny bit could get you, and poof, there you go. And if you don't fall, but you almost did, that's a near miss, but that's a fall, because that's a red flag. Okay, I'm unsteady. I got to change something here. I don't want to fall, right? That's you've been lucky if you've had a near miss before any other kind of fall. So you want to make sure also that you don't have mail and newspapers piling up around the floor. They were in a neat pile and they fell over, or your dog knocked them over. Time to deal with those, right? Same with electrical cords. I've got a cord here, and we know we have to be really careful because this is not wise what I did here to plug in a device to show you. So make sure you look around at where your cords are, right? Lighting is critical. Do you have your home well lit? Are you opening up your blinds and your drapes to let the light in? Don't go cheap on lighting, because it is a huge safety factor and it's probably one of the cheapest electrical things you'll run in your house. Truly. I'll show you these little motion sensor lights that we have all over our house. So if one of us is walking around at night, my husband or me, we get a little light on the subject and I don't have to worry about falling. And I'll show you a picture of that on the screen. Grab bars are essential in around the toilet, around the shower, in the shower, all of those sort of things. I'll show you some pictures. Even if you have a couple of steps to the front door and a couple steps to the garage, a couple steps to the backyard, really think about, I've been to many homes where there's this tiny step out back outside of a slider, barely enough for you to really catch your balance with your feet. And then you're down another step and there's nothing to hold on to. Right? You're going out to your backyard for something and down you go. And again, that's also how no one knows you're out there, because, you fell and you don't have a way to call 911. So these are just some of the things that I think are really important when you take a look at your house today. I'm not going to take too much time on this one, but your bed height, your mattress, if it's firm or squishy around the edges, all of these things can impact your risk of falling. So you might have, and I don't want you to go out and buy all new furniture just because I was here today, but I want you to be aware, hey, that bed that we've had for years, or that chair or that couch, it is really difficult for me to get off or in and out of that safely. And is there something I can do about that? Do I need to replace it? Do I need, on the bedding, do I need to change some of the bedding so it's not so slippery? Is the bed too low? Hey, it got really popular for a while to have really high beds. I'm not a fan of those either because I'm short. So bless you. So you have to kind of look around and see, are my furnishings supporting me now? Right? Old couches that are so soft and cushy, how the heck to get up, right? Safely. I will say, if you're in a deep chair or a deep couch, you want to scoot up a little, get your feet planted securely on the floor, and then rise up. You've got a lot more leverage that way. But some couches, it's hard to scoot up. So I have to put a lot of pillows behind me in one of those couches. Bed rails you can get, that sort of thing. And then if you're going to look at lift chairs, those should be bought at a medical supply store rather than online, because those have to be fitted as well. All right. Some things to avoid. Anybody recognize anything here? A few things, right? Okay, flip-flops and stools, rugs, even that microwave in the bottom right-hand corner, at least when I'm looking at my screen, it's the bottom right. That is a reach. So if you think about, you've got a microwave above the stove, unless you're tall, you're a tall guy, but for me, I'd have to reach. Now I got to balance myself while I open the door, and I want to put something in there. Then I heat it up and I got to take it out, and it's usually in glass, right? So if you think about the balancing act that goes on for you to be reaching high to a microwave, it can be very dangerous, because if you fell, bad enough you fall, but do you really want, a hot casserole dish or a hot cup of coffee, falling on you and shattering and you've been burnt. So I recommend, if you do have a microwave like that, next time you use it, feel what's going on for you. And if it feels unsafe, maybe give up a little bit of counter space, get a small microwave, stick it on the counter for heating up stuff. Cause that's mostly what we do with microwaves, right? We just heat up a few things. So, and I'm going to tell you about those slippers in the middle. See those white slippers? All right, ladies, how many of you have those in pink or lavender or blue? Maybe, maybe not. Well, my mom had a new pair every year. And I didn't know the first thing about falls, except for I could tell that those were bad. Bad news as she got older. And I said, Mom, those slippers are going to be the death of you. You know, and she'd cuss at me, and that was that. So in a friendly, loving way, my mom would do that. So they nearly were. So my mom lost her balance getting out of bed. She was in a guest bed, too low. So when you travel, think about this. You're at the mercy of whatever the bed is, or the toilet height, or whatever. At your family home, you know, visiting family or friends, you know, at a hotel. So in my mom's case, she got out of the guest bed and lost her balance, putting her slippers on. Down she went. Of course, you know, there's not going to be a phone there. No one was home at that moment. Mom shattered her shoulder and broke her hip. Broken hips are so common, right? Broken legs, broken arms, broken wrists, traumatic brain injuries. You hit your head on the corner of the nightstand. Ow, you better go to the hospital, even if I'm fine, I'm fine. You don't know you're fine. So my mom's case, she laid on the floor until someone came home. And luckily it was only about 4 hours, or a typical day would have been all day. So, but remember I said the average is 18 hours. So mom was lucky. But that's the thing, is your shoes matter. The bed you're in matters. These are all practical everyday things. So see that lady there on that stool? What do you think of that? Anybody have any of these stools and step ladders still in your homes? Yeah. Yeah, like the one on the previous page, the step ladder in the corner. We have those. No, yes, it is better than the next one. Yes. Okay. But if you don't have handles on it, and remember, when you're on a step stool, even with handles, you're still reaching for something. So now you're off balance, because, you know, you might not even be able to hold on to the handle of that thing while you reach for something. So you're better off getting help. We got to swallow our pride, get some help. And if we're going to decorate, because now it's Halloween and lots of people are, you know, dragging out decorations. If you insist on doing it yourself because you live alone, bring a friend over. Tell that friend, leave you alone. You want to do it your way because you've been doing it this way for 30 years. But you want them to kind of spot you. They're going to hold that ladder. They're going to, you know, they're going to be there if you fall so they can get you help. But I highly, highly discourage you from using these step ladders at this point. It is trouble waiting to happen. Yes.
I balance people workarounds. They have to reach up to them. I like numerous times a day. Problem.
Yes.
Something. This is. So they can use the number of times that they have to get up.
Yes. So this gentleman is saying that when people are using step ladders and step stools and using them multiple times a day, the things you're using regularly are really out of reach for you. And that's what's on this slide here, is you want to have everything you use on a regular daily basis at arm's length. You know, it might mean a little more clutter on your kitchen counter. You know, think about what you're using. But if you're not like stretching isn't good, but if you're constantly having to climb up to something, if you are, you know, can't reach it, it's on the bottom shelf, you really want to rethink your placement. So yeah, I highly encourage you to get rid of step stools, or only use them when somebody's there, or have that someone there who's younger than you, you know, be on the step stool and you can spot them. I love the grabber tools. So you can get those at the hardware store, or, you know, Walmart, anywhere, you know, these days. The newest ones have a magnetic tip. So if you drop your keys, again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be moving around and having an active life, but if you're a full risk, then it would be better to be able to get something up here, not glass. I'm trying to reteach my husband the glass stuff that I want needs to be lower. His stuff can go up because he's 6'1.5" and I'm barely 5'3". So you got to figure that out too, right? So, but the grabber tools now have a magnetic tip. You can pick up keys with them. Who doesn't drop their keys once a week? So I love that. And so you can pick things from the ground or pick things, from above. So always keep your things that you use often within arm's reach. So this is this lighting that I was talking about. So these little, there are other brands. There's these little Avon lights. I love the fact that they're motion sensor and you can set how bright it is. So like there's a 4-pack for 20 bucks. I have them on my website. I called the company and said, I'm always talking about your lights. Can I put them on my website and you send me a penny if I sell any? Full disclosure there. So, you just plug it into your outlets. And when you're nearing the light, it comes on. It stays on for 30 seconds once you've passed it. So we've got one in the bedroom, the bathroom, the hallway. Every room in the house has one. And we always take one when we travel. We put it in the hotel bathroom. So these are this is like the easiest, cheapest thing you could find to add some safety, because even if you don't live alone, you probably don't flip on a bright light when you get up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom, right? You just don't want to wake up that much. So these little lights can guide you. And then if you need more light, turn on a light. But I love it. So, because a lot of us only know the old fashioned night lights that are on all the time in the dark. Well, we need darkness to sleep well. So I love these little things. These are just little, little tidbits. Here's the page on bathroom safety. You can see a variety of things here. So what we're looking at here is some bath benches, a toilet riser with handlebars. So not everything that you need to use for safety has to be attached to the wall or attached to the ceiling, but you really do need to go to a good medical supply store to see what's available and to understand how it works. So this is from my friend Vanessa's store in Orangevale, HealthQuest Medical Supply, and I've taken pictures of things that she has there. So I'm just going to tell you the bath safety experts is the company called Nova Joy, and that's their top 10 list. And I could email that also to Linda. The top 10 list for bath safety. Remember I said most falls happen at home, and of those, most are in the bathroom area. Your knees could give out and you're getting off the toilet. Down you go. That's it. I had a man tell me that when he was in his mid-50s, his knees gave out as he was getting off the toilet. He lived alone. He fell. He got wedged between the toilet and the tub. This is a very common spot. Between the toilet and the tub, the toilet and the shower, you've hurt yourself, you're contorted because there's just a small space usually between the toilet and the tub, unless you have a, monster master bath or something. He was there for 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 days. I know. How did he live? The only reason he survived 5 days with no food or medications, remember, if you're on medications, you're now off your schedule. So other problems start. In his case, he survived because in all of his pain with his broken ribs and his clobbered knees and who knows what else, he was able to reach over to the tub faucet and get a drink of water. If not for that being a tub, if not for having water, he would not have made it. I have met people who've had strokes and fallen, and it's been 3 days before anyone knew anything was wrong. It is very challenging to bounce back from not getting help right away. So you do want to have things in place so that you can, be safer getting on and off toilets, in and out of showers and tubs, and also to be able to get immediate help. So the number one thing that Nova says on this top 10 list for bath safety is be proactive. All right, that's what we're talking about today. Number 2 is don't lock your bathroom door. Anybody know why?
So they don't have to break it to get in.
Right, because who knows where the bathroom door key is in your house anymore, right? I think most of us don't have a clue, and in a panic, would your loved one know where it is? So fire department's gonna have to come in and break down that door. So, if the door's closed, it's occupied. Maybe start that if you don't live alone. But honestly, you don't want to lock that door because it just makes it harder for a lay person to get to you, let alone, the fire department. Slippery, yes.
funny kind of story is that I am living alone. My daughter lives a couple miles away. And then I guess one time I was in I'm in the bathroom, so I'm used to leaving the door open. You know,
Yeah, of
whatever.
course, you're by yourself.
And then been reading and see if I could hear the door and everything. And she comes around the corner and I'm just sitting there on the toilet. I'm not naked either. And she says, "What happened?" Chris walked in like this.
Chris is gonna get an education.
Right. So for those of you who can't hear, one of our participants today, lives alone and is on the toilet with the door open, and there's concern about who's going to see her, right? But most of the time you're by yourself. So, there is that chance if we leave the door open. But yeah, you were trying to kind of hear if somebody was coming and going. And yeah, if you live alone, you probably do. I know this is TMI, but you probably do leave the door open. Who's going to come in, right? So it's when you have company that you might be thinking of locking that door, and that's a bad idea if you're having an emergency.
That's why he would have, he comes in and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's because somebody can come in. Now, if the door was locked, he wouldn't have the key to that. So you tell your daughter that you were planning ahead and being smart. You went to a seminar and you learned that not locking that bathroom door is wise. So yeah, right? I could tell you a story when I was a kid and I live in my family home and the door jam's not quite the same. And I was about 4, I think. And there was a spider between me and the door to leave the bathroom, right? And I'm screaming and hollering, and you'd think that I was probably, having, I don't know what, but my poor dad had to, break the lock and get in to rescue me from the spider. It's no different. I don't tell that story very often, but it's no different because, who knew where the keys were at that point? I mean, the family'd been in, I was born later, but let's say the house was 5 years old then. Nobody knew where the bathroom key is. We've remodeled that bathroom now, and I think I know where the key is on the new lock, but we don't think about it. So this is everyday stuff. I'm telling you, no rocket science here. That's not my department. Practical stuff, right?
Can you get that list?
Yeah, I'll email that to Linda that she can then print out, and yeah, it's a nice list. Let's see here. There's chat. Oh, hold on. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Okay. We might have questions there. Are you going to look up that?
Yeah, great presentation. How may we get a copy of this presentation?
Oh, I'll make sure Linda gets a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can download the copy,
Yeah.
but I can also do it in a PDF, which makes it easier to share. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so the mat you use, right? I'm going to see if I can get this off the screen. Oops, let me go back. High tech here. So, you want to think about your mat in the shower. You don't want it to slide around. So I've heard that teak bath mats are nice. I've heard there's such a thing as shower shoes. I work with a Parkinson's support group, and folks in my group have told me they really love those 2 things. Most people are finding these things on Amazon. A teak shower, it have slats probably, but she said it didn't move. And another woman said she loved her shower shoes. We have this mat. We've since gotten a smaller, lighter version of it. It's easier to rinse off, but this again was Amazon, something my husband found. Shower mats, non-slip for elderly. So if you do shop, I'm not a fan of elderly, but aren't we all elderly? Yeah. Doesn't that make us feel like about 110? So, but if you do shop on Amazon, then if you put in senior, elderly, you'll come up with things like this. But anyway, you want something that just doesn't move around on you, right? Suction cup ones sometimes move around. We used to have one with a suction cup. The secret is if you have one and it's, moving around, sliding around, throw it in a gentle wash. And then that takes a lot of the soap scum off of it. But after a while, the suctions just won't work. But it's sliding around because there's soap, soap there. And then these are some examples of things you'd find at a medical supply store. And the one you can see the canes and things, they're pretty hot rod looking these days. Make sure it's fitted for you because that's important. The The bar on my left, which is, yeah, your left too, that is called a security bar or transfer bar. This was my favorite tool when my mom needed help getting out of bed, when she was at our house. Then when she fell, it was my brother's fault. She was at his house. But when she was at our house, which was most of the time, we had this, it's a tensor rod, so it doesn't make a hole in your floor or your ceiling, but it's got to be installed by a professional because you want it with the support beam. But it allows someone to kind of sit up from bed or a chair or a couch and then grab that bar and plant their feet on the ground, steady up, and then most likely get to the walker. I mean, usually by the time someone might need that, they might be using a walker. This is about $150 to $200, something like that. Every medical supply store has them. We'll get a thumbs up on that. I think these tools are great. They usually come in black or white. Some people have them in their bathroom near the shower or the tub. And you can move, you decide, well, I don't need it there, or I need one here and I need one there. Again, it's always good to be strong and mobile and balanced. But if we need more help, this is such a wonderful tool.
Invaluable.
You've got one. So see, there you go. Yeah, they're really great. Bed rails. And these aren't like the ones we had as kids, so we wouldn't fall out when we were little, right? These are strong, sturdy ones that can help you get out of bed or get into bed. I think that's important too. If you're not using that transfer pole, this might be an answer. So they're just things like that you can find, at a medical supply store. So if you are, how many of you live in your single family home that you've got, a driveway and a couple stairs and, things like that? Right? Okay. So I have some pictures here. Oh, I think the thing is that in the way again. Okay. These are some pictures I took from McElwain Mobility. I work closely with them. They're in Rancho Cordova. They can make modifications in your bathrooms, your kitchen, all throughout the house. If you want to do what we call aging in place, which most of us want to do, then you might need some home modifications. They're experts at that. And they can build temporary ramps. They can build permanent ramps. They can put in handrails. They have these little thresholds so that when you go from one room to another, you don't have as much of a lip. And so would your medical supply store. They have those thresholds as well. There's a ramp if you have a scooter. They've got scooters and you name it. So just to give you an idea though, there are things you can do so you can stay in your home. I mean, I'm going to say nothing's really all that cheap, but if you have a budget for it, or you think about, do I want to move into assisted living or, senior community, or do I want to stay in my home? Hey, talk to an expert and pencil that all out and see what makes sense for you. But I love that we have local companies who are honest and good, who will do work for you. All right. The phone is not a plan. How many of you are relying on a phone in case of emergency? Right? We're all going to call 911 from our phone if we fall, if somebody, ladies, if we're in the parking lot of the grocery store and some bad guy decides to knock us over to get our purses, right? We're just going to use that phone and call 911. Well, if that was the case, the guy who spent 5 days on the floor would have only spent a few minutes on the floor. If we were going to get to a phone, my mom wouldn't have been there half a day, right? If people's phones would work in an emergency, the average length of time waiting for help when you're alone wouldn't be 18 hours. So phones are not a great plan for a number of reasons, because if we fall, we hurt ourselves, we have a heart attack or a stroke, we're going to have a tough time calling 911. If we have a partner in our lives who might have some cognitive decline, they may not know to call 911 for us. And so we're really stuck. We are hoping somebody comes over and figures out something's wrong with Dot. We haven't seen her in a few hours or a few days, right? And whatever your life is like. So you really want to have an emergency plan, because everyday life, we are not, as my colleague in Mississippi says, well, Dot, I don't think we've scheduled our next emergency. Do you know when your next emergency is? Like, no, and I hope I don't have one today, right? But I want to be prepared if I do. So I wanted to show you some pictures of what's on the market these days for emergency type of pendants. They're all over the map. Yeah, he's got his, right? From my last seminar, a whole year now, just about. I know, you get an A++. So the CDC, the Mayo Clinic, and Harvard Medical School all recommend personal emergency alerts for, especially for anyone living alone. Because if you cannot get to a phone, which is often the case, you are stuck. So I don't want that. Like when my husband travels, I don't want to be slipping in the shower and I've got no way to get help. And I'm laying there in that shower for a day or two, and that water's cold now, right? And I am in a world of hurt with my health. If I've injured myself, if I hit my head, I should have been seen in the ER within the first hour. Because what if I have a slow brain bleed, right? These happen. You'll hear about that where somebody had a skiing accident and now a day or two later, they're gone. So that's why I want to share with you, why these things are important, because you do want to do whatever you can to prevent falling, but you also want to have an emergency plan for the times when you might be in a world of trouble. So I can show you different devices. Briefly, we're doing okay on time, I think. Yeah. I talk fast, so that helps. So I want to show you a couple things. So this one here, you see that one in the top corner there. This pendant has fall detection in it. And it has the voice box and GPS. So if you are wearing this at home, you don't have to say what your address is if it goes off or you've pushed the button. You also are out and about living your life. It knows right where you are because of the GPS. You push the button, the live operator comes on and will ask if you need emergency help. Is that on the Zoom? Is there anybody in the chat having a
Do
question?
you have a question, Grace?
Yes, I do. It says on the bottom here that available through Boyd.
Yes.
I have a problem. I have essential tremor and I need to be able to hold something in my hand and see if I'm going to be able to push that button.
Yeah.
But most of the places you call, they say, oh, you have to get your first year, you have to pay up front and get your, so I need a place where I can go to and hold these in my hand, make sure that there's no batteries that are so small that I can't change, stuff like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It says here available via Boyd.
Yes, the electronic caregiver devices, full disclosure, I represent electronic caregiver devices. So those are the ones I can demonstrate on, I'm an expert on. And I make house calls. So, and I'm not here to sell, I'm here to educate. So I always want to be really careful to stay within the boundaries of things. So, but if you wanted to see this in person, I can come to your home or we can meet at a medical supply store in town and I can show you. There's no one size fits all. What has happened in this industry, and many of you have seen, I've fallen and I can't get up commercials for 40 years, right? I think it's now 42 years they've been on air. There's a stigma on wearing these things. And so people are relying on a phone and they're not getting help. Well, most of the companies don't have local representatives anymore. They just, I've called around and I even had one company 2 years ago when I called on behalf of a client who wanted to know about this company. And I said, will you send someone to their home? And they said, no, we have to protect our employees. And I'm like, what about protecting your clients? What about protecting older folks, right? So I'm happy, Grace, to arrange something with you. All my contact information is at the end. And you can call me, email me, whichever, and I'm happy to meet up with you. So this is the portable one. So this works at home and on the go. This kind of replaces yours. There's an out of stock problem with yours. So this one is the one, and it can also be worn in a pouch and like this on your hip. And if you don't like the fall detection aspect of it, you can, we can turn that off for you. So, and I'll talk about pricing in a moment because that's always something on people's minds. The next thing you're seeing, I'm just kind of showing you a variety. These are pretty nifty. Does anybody use that word anymore? I do. So these are Wi-Fi motion sensors. And there's 4 in a kit. I'm putting that up to the camera here. There's 4 in a kit. They plug into your outlets. So we've got one, I'm testing it out in the home. You know, my husband and I are there and I want to see how these things work because it's a fairly new addition to what Electronic Caregiver offers. Plug it into your outlet. You still have an outlet. We don't take away the outlet. You can still plug something in, but Wi-Fi signals that you have passed this. So there's one by the bed, there's one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, and one in, let's say, the family room. So the 4 rooms you spend the time in. And there's a mobile app. So if you have helicopter kids, there's somebody in your life who's like, Dad, I'm really worried about you living alone. You know, Dad, you know, have you thought about moving in with me? Dad, have you thought about moving in assisted living, right? Everybody kind of gets that at some point from their kids. Well, this can give them some peace of mind because they can see, oh, Dad got up this morning and okay, he's in the kitchen getting his coffee and, you know, Dad's been sitting in his easy chair. There's no cameras, but Dad's been sitting in the easy chair or something for 4 hours or 5 hours, not doing those exercises. I better bug him, right? But there's no cameras, but the Wi-Fi signals are picking up movement throughout the house. So if you live alone and you've got people worried about you and you're not wanting to wear a wearable alert, this is at least something because there's somebody, it's like having a buddy. Somebody can see that. So those are not the be all to end all, but for some people, it's as far as they'll go about these kind of safety devices.
So that's kind of like when I order Lyft or Uber, I can see as I'm waiting movement, like if I'm, I can see the car coming, so it's something like that.
It's a little like that. So it would show on whoever let's say you've got, you would see that there's movement in different rooms. You wouldn't see me moving. You wouldn't, right. And you wouldn't see infrared or anything. You would just see a movement. It would show movement in the kitchen. Rise and shine would be programmed in. When do you get up every day? If there's no movement during that time period in the bedroom, then an alert is sent to that mobile phone to let the loved one know, like, hey, so-and-so didn't get out of bed today. Maybe you want to go check. It's not going to call 911 or anything. It's added information. Just, yeah, you can have a dog. They factor that in. Yeah. I don't know how, but they kind of factor in height and all that stuff. So yeah. Yeah, number of legs. That's right. How quickly you move versus you, right? Well, we'll measure movement. I don't know exactly, but they have some of that figured out. Then I want to show you, this is the, some of you who were here last time saw this one. This is the Pro Health device and how it works. So it has these different, you know, types of arm pendants, wrist pendants, and with the push of a button, let's see if I pick the right one. Yeah, so I push this one.
The emergency response center now. To cancel this call.
I'm going to
please
cancel
press
it
the
for now.
help
This is
button.
just a demo unit, so it would only be a recording.
Your call has been canceled.
So it's the idea is you want to have a wearable piece on, because if you slip in the shower or you go out to the mailbox or you go to the backyard to, you know, I don't know, smell the roses, do some gardening, you might not have your phone with you, or you may have it in your pocket. But it's kind of useless if you've fallen and you're hurting yourself. So you have a wearable on. These are all waterproof so that you can wear it in the shower and you can get help. And with this particular one, it's called a Pro Health. There you can have reminders, medication reminders, like this one. I'll try to put by the
You have one
microphone.
new message.
Ooh, that works.
First message.
Good morning, Dad. It's your favorite daughter. Time to take your blood pressure medicine and have a great day. Talk to you tonight. Bye. So you can put your own reminders, or people in your life can remind you of things if you need that. And it comes with telemedicine. Again, I'm showing you kind of what's out there, the scope of things. But the real key is that, and that works in the home only, front yard, backyard. But you can't take it with you when you walk down the street. No, this is when you need this one here. When you go driving and coming here, you would have to have the portable. This is really just an in-home device. And then the latest thing, I don't even know if I had it last year, but most of you, you're the only one I think might be, you were here last year. So is Addison, the virtual caregiver. And I don't know if you can see that one. So she's in privacy mode, but I'll turn her on and see if we can talk to her. Hey, Addison. Learning. Fitness routine. Hey, Addison. Oh yeah, she heard me. Okay, so we're talking about exercises, right? She can be your exercise buddy. All right, let's do some legs. Let's see. How about sideways leg lifts? What do you think? I can't read that from here. Or let's sit to stand. Let's do 5 times sit to stand. When it's your own, it's voice activated. For me, with a demo unit, not so much.
While seated, cross your arms in front of your chest. Now slowly and intentionally stand up straight. Pause while standing, and then gently lower yourself back down to sitting. Try not to fall down into your seat.
Yeah, try not to fall down,
And
right?
do your best
She
to
knows
keep
what we're
your
talking about here.
engaged as you lower yourself back down.
So just to give you an idea, there's all sorts of exercises, there's games, there's medication reminders. A camera comes on to see that you took your meds. Again, you probably don't need these things, but you might have someone in your life, you're thinking, oh boy, everybody's worried about mom taking her meds. This camera comes on for HIPAA compliance to see that mom took her meds. There's all sorts of things in here, and there's fun stuff too. Puzzles, things for keep your brain active, games and whatnot. So that's the virtual caregiver. So I just kind of wanted to give you this span of things from the, basic to wide open on really what's coming out in innovations. Yes, question.
These are all basics. So there's the cost of the device, and then there's a service tied to each of them. Except for the outlets.
Yeah, so where did I not? You know what? It's in the handout. I took that slide out of here with the costs because I don't want to seem like selling. Yeah, so most of the equipment is free, at least from Electronic Caregiver and the company that I represent. There is really only an upfront cost on the Wi-Fi sensors. There's an $80 down and then $20 a month. And then with the virtual caregiver, it's $399 down and then $200 a month. That one's much more encompassing, but it does come bundled with this. So when you leave the house, you've got protection, and it comes with the Wi-Fi sensor. So it's got a lot of stuff in it. And telemedicine and health coaching is all part of that package. So but the pricing is on one of the handouts over there, and I can make sure that the Zoom people get that, just to give you an idea. But in most cases, the equipment is really just on loan to you, and you're paying a monthly fee and sometimes a small startup fee. If you're shopping around for any of these things, and I suggest that you really think about having an emergency system in place, and I'll tell you why here, and that's also a handout over there, is because a number of things. First of all, don't enter into a contract with anyone. The only thing that has a contract is the fancy Addison, the virtual caregiver. But see, she heard me. Okay, goodbye, Addison. See you later. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you. She could be at the beach. She's got all sorts. If it's raining out, it looks like it's raining on the screen. It's pretty neat. It's just a nice companion. But nothing replaces a human being. I will never ever be the one to say, oh, all these fancy gadgets and avatars. I didn't even know what an avatar was 2 years ago. You might not know either. That's her, and she can be a he, and there, you can change her, and she can be any ethnic group, and he or she, whatever you want, and it has personality to go with it. It's kind of fun. So that's the modern age, right? But it's to fill gaps when we're alone, or to keep us on track with our health plan, our health regimen. So it's really important, and I'm not going to go over everything on this slide, and I have a more, I think, concise, I used AI to come up with a better slide than this, but that's in the handout, which is why you want to have an emergency plan and why these things are really superior to relying on a phone and calling 911. If you have any kind of health condition, you want the paramedics to know. If you have a smartwatch, an Apple Watch, or any of those beautiful things, they are amazing, but they're limited in what they will provide to the first responders. So if you have diabetes or, a pacemaker or cancer or a stent or anything, like you're thinking, I would want the paramedics to know this. And I sure as heck want the hospital to know this when I get there, because what if they don't know who I am? What if I'm not going to the hospital that has me in their system because someone decided, oh, you're a trauma 1, you're going to, UCD, but you're a Kaiser patient. And you're like, but the paramedics are in charge of where you go based on what's going on with you and what's happening in the world of hospitals in that moment. So you want to have them have information. And when you sign up for a company like this, your health information is on there and you can update it at any time. It's HIPAA protected, but all of this information is on file, which is given to the first responders by the emergency operator, so that when they get to you, wherever you are, they have a clue, right? And they know if you've got any care wishes posted in the house or in your wallet or somewhere, they know that. They want to grab those. One of the things that astounded me, remember, we're talking about how often seniors fall, right? 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3. I have a friend who works in the trauma department at UC Davis. She said the majority of their trauma patients are seniors who've fallen, and about 1/3 of them come in without any identification. That shocked me, that piece right there. So I know of a family where the daughter called me after the fact. The mom fell in her driveway in Folsom. She'd been out there in a bad way for a couple of hours, we think. And someone called 911. A neighbor saw, like, this isn't good. And then 911 fire department came out to her, took her immediately to Mercy Folsom. They didn't go in the house to figure out who she was. They didn't go and grab her purse, look on the fridge for, any papers that say, what you want when you're in the hospital. They just took her to save her life. She had a major brain trauma or a head trauma. So it was several hours before anyone kind of figured out any information about her and called her daughter. And she was in her own driveway. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a device and you've pushed your button, or if the fall detection has gone off, our operator sees your profile, or any other company that you're using that's legitimate will see your profile and know what your preferences are, what your health conditions are. Hey, do you want us to call your son before we dispatch emergency help? Those you get to customize. Do you have dogs or cats we need to know about? How do we get in the house? Is there a lockbox, a remote code? All these things we don't think about, but they're part of an emergency plan. Last month was Emergency Preparedness Month. It was also Fall Prevention Awareness Month, which of course and the two go hand in hand when I talk about this. So you want to get the best care possible, the best informed care, and these types of systems are how you can get that. So, and if you are the family caregiver, you got a plan for you, because your other person may not be able to call 911 for you. So this device might just be for you. And then don't forget, if you need parking placards, pester your doctor and tell them why, convince them you won't cheat with it. And when you're feeling good, you'll park further away. But, there are times when these things are going to help you enjoy your life, be less isolated, right? Reduce your risk of falling because you aren't exhausted coming from the back 40 in a big building. So that's it. This is the fall prevention resource list. I'll email also. Well, it'll be in the program. It'll be in all these slides that I emailed to Linda. So any questions? We have a few more minutes just for questions. No questions, comments? You want me to show you anything? Yes.
Why do seniors have this increased risk of falling? What happens in our bodies that causes this?
It's a number of factors. So some of it is, are the medications we're on, right? If we have medications that cause dizziness, our hearing. So I work with a physical therapist, and he was talking about how our inner ear, we probably all learned this in about 4th or 5th grade, but that was a long time ago, that the mechanism of our inner ear informs our body as to where we are in our space. Some of it's that. So vision, we don't see as clearly. hearing, as well as if we're not picking our feet up, if our joints are hurting us, you know, if we've got arthritis or, you know, lower back pain or that sort of thing, it can impact how we move. Also, there's a lot of talk these days about stretching. I don't know if you talk about that here. I know that when I don't stretch, which is a lot of days, I can tell when I go for a walk, I'm in pain. I can feel my hips aren't moving quite right. So if an expert were to look at my gait, a lot of it is our gait as we age. It's off. We're just not balanced. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of, it's like, just because we're getting older doesn't mean that we're going to fall or have to fall, or there's nothing we can do about it. But there are some medical conditions, you know, that crop up that get in the way. And then some of it's our surroundings. And also, if you think about it, most environments are not set up for us. So even if I go back to the bathroom, so when you go to a public bathroom, have you noticed as you've gotten older how low the toilets are? And maybe that matters more to us women because, you know, it's always a sit down job for us. So I notice even in the handicap stall that, oh my gosh, you know, and I'm short. So it's not as far for me to go, but they're lower. And so getting up, so if our core strength isn't really good, our, you know, right, to be able to lift ourselves up, if we can't plant our feet on the ground steady and come up. So a lot of it is the exercises, the balance exercises, strength training, really essential to kind of stave off that. So I'm a lay person, you know, not a physical therapist. You get a better answer from them. I look at the environment and I look at our shared environment, just say Sacramento area. You take a walk anywhere and the curbs are, you know, right? I can tell my depth perception isn't what it used to be. I'm 67 and I've noticed in the last few years changes and I'm so aware. I don't do everything right. Even though I don't do the balance, I'm not good at doing the exercises. And I know if I don't get with it, I will be a statistic. Because I fell in my 50s taking out the garbage can. Right? Because so in your yards, in your homes, like we've done some improvements. We don't have tons of money and skill, but there are pathways where I'm like, man, I gotta watch that. And my husband is learning that where he puts the hose matters. So see, if you're out enjoying your garden, which is so good for you, like being out in nature, being in your yard, gardening is one of those things that's really great for us, but we got to be careful about it. And I'm trying to teach him. He's not a fall risk. He wears a size 13 shoe. He's solid on his feet. I'm not solid on my feet. I maybe never was. I mean, my family tells me things. So, it's just a combination of factors, but being aware that we're at higher risk of falling will help us reduce our risk by looking at our environment and really being savvy about that and changing even little changes in our home. Another question. Oh, you're welcome. I hope that helped.
I got hired.
Pardon me?
You mentioned the environment.
Yeah.
A lot of this has to do with aging in place. So if you find yourself in a position where you're looking for a home, that's how you can resolve so many of these issues. I bought a house that was cleaned up for designed for someone in a wheelchair. And that's great.
So we're talking about, right? Oh, were you finished? I was gonna let the Zoom group know.
Step to get to the door, it was converted to small, right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
only step in the house is through the garage.
Yeah.
And then the dogs just go out.
Yeah. So homes that are designed for aging in place is what this gentleman in the back is talking about. And he moved into a home that had been designed for someone in a wheelchair. And so it helps you age in place now, right? Because there's safety in mind. I'll tell you what, we're having our neighbor, one of our young neighbors, get experiencing designing and building garden boxes because we love to garden, and the side yard was my dad's old garden boxes that were long overdue for retirement. And we said we want them higher, so they're a couple feet high. There's going to be the ledges on top of them. We have separated them by 3 feet. So if we're ever in a wheelchair and we want to garden and live our lives in this home, we're planning ahead, right? We're looking at things. When we remodeled our bathroom and did some other things, we changed the handles on the doors to levers. Every door is now a lever. Took some getting used to, because remember, this is my family home, so I've lived in it a long time. I have a memory of where things used to be versus where they are now. And those are great. Things like that, that's not necessarily going to be managing our fall risk, but you know, you get arthritis and those round doorknobs are kind of hard to open. So things like that, there's little things that you can do that help you age in place. Pardon me?
The dog can let itself out.
Oh, the dog can let itself out. Oh, watch out about those levers, right? Yeah. And speaking of dogs and cats, they don't register very high on being risks for your falling, but they are, because every time I look this up to see if it's time to modify my presentation, they don't warrant like being a risk, but they are a risk. I think pets are wonderful for us. They're great for our reason to get out of bed in the morning if we're retired. They're good for us. They make us move. They, you know, they love us. They give us that affection. We just have to be really careful. And I think sometimes the smaller the pet, the more they're likely to get under your feet. So I didn't mention pets, cats, dogs, but many of my clients have tripped over the dog or have had a few near misses. Remember, a near miss is a fall because it tells you something in my environment or in my body is not quite right. So I got to see why did I almost fall? Right. So take those seriously. I know you don't want to tell anybody you had one. So I'll end with this, unless there's any other questions. Anybody on Zoom questions?
Yeah.
We are all afraid that somebody is going to make decisions for us as we age. Like we're all kind of in the back of our head. We don't have kids, so it's going to be my older sister probably. And I don't know if I want her making decisions for me, but you know, it might happen. So we don't want people to know if we've fallen or if we're having health challenges or cognitive changes, or we're worried about our safety in our home, but we kind of don't want to tell anybody because then they're going to say, oh, mom, dad, you can't live there anymore. Come move in with us. Come to Montana and live with us, right? Or then you have to leave your whole community. I see folks all the time who move across country to be with grandkids or to be closer to their kids. And now they have to start their lives all over unless the family's very active together. And so we're all, or they're like, oh my God, my kids are going to put me in a nursing home. Who's afraid of that? A lot of people. And when my dad was in and out of a nursing home, and probably my mom too at that time, we saw a bumper sticker we still talk about. Be nice to your kids. They're going to be choosing your nursing home one day. So that's our fear, right? Is that if we let on that we're having some challenges, our loved ones might say, okay, I've been worried about you living by yourself at home. Time to change that. But if you don't have a conversation, then you're putting yourself at risk too, because you might think you're okay, or you don't want to admit it, but you've got to make a plan. Whether you're including them or not, your kids are worried. If you've got kids, they're worried. Let me just tell you. So do what you can, you know, to avoid having other people make decisions for you because, you know, you had a fall and you didn't have a plan in place. Because we just may, you know, have that fall or the health condition that puts us on the floor. Just because, you know, if we had a stroke and we fell, that's not really a fall per se. it was caused by a stroke. It wasn't because I tripped, because I have a rug, right? So anyway, I hope that all helps. And when you go home today, you look at your homes with new eyes, fresh eyes, and I'll make sure that the team here has the presentation so you can all have copies of it. So thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you. And the handouts are over there. Pardon me? Don't fall now, getting up. No. Well, so what I do, then I just kind of have to, I got a table here, but if you're sitting a while, joints get all, tied up there. Bye, everybody on Zoom. Thanks for being here. Are they still there? Or I'm
Thank
waving,
you.
I'm waving at the
Very
screen.
much.
All right.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I learned a lot.
Well, who's talking? Oh, you're on this
Deidre,
Zoom.
yeah.
Oh, hi. Hi there. I'm glad you did. And that's my contact info. It's all on the screen if you're able to see it. And then the team here has.
I forgot about Grace. She wanted to.
Oh, did you have a question?
No, it was the one who was asking to meet.
Yeah. You can contact me and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So there's info here, a little bit of the lifesaver here. You already know there's a lot. But how are you?
Bye, everyone.
Thank
you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Everybody up there? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah, that's me.
It works sometimes.
Thank
I
you.
was just looking for Grace. I didn't see
Yes.
her.
Let me know if she's there.
Okay.
Questions, Tom?